Click the subscribe button, hit the bell icon to never miss another update.
Once upon a time, a governor ruled in the name of his tyrannical and oppressive king. Now that the gods have made me ruler, I will give every command and it must be executed, Dacian said. I will execute anyone who disobeys me. Dacian had ordered to make many idols and was becoming more and more adulterous every day. He was thinking to himself, the more people worship idols, the better it is for my government. If they are willing to worship these stones, I am sure they will obey me too. 6 of the pious courtiers opposed Dacian, but because Dacian was a ruthless ruler, they could not oppose him. That's why they came together in a secret meeting. We have to leave the palace to declare our protest and opposition to everyone, said Maximilian, who was older than the others. Rest assured, his royal foundations will collapse very soon. They all agreed, and at midnight they all left the palace. They gathered outside the city gate. We have to get out of town as soon as we can, Maximilian said. All 6 of them got on their horses and set off, crossing the desert and reaching a lush ranch. From afar they saw a shepherd who had just brought his flock to the desert. As they approached him, the shepherd got up and invited them to have breakfast with him. The shepherd brought fresh milk and a little bread and cheese, put them before them and asked, "Where have you come from? You must have lost your way." I think that the shepherd is a man of faith, Maximilian turned to his companions. We can trust him. The shepherd said, "What happened? Have you escaped bandits? Who are you really?" They told him the story of their opposition to Dacian and their escape from the palace. The shepherd said, "By God, you are faithful humans. Let me join you." Maximilian saw satisfaction in the face of his companions and said, "You are welcome to join us." The shepherd thanked them and commanded his dogs to bring the herd back to the village. All the dogs went to guide the flock to the village, except for one dog. One of the dogs walked behind the 7. The shepherd saw the dog and smiled. Around noon the dog began barking. The courtiers had properly understood. Maximilian said, "We must not waste time." The shepherd said, "I know a cave that I'm sure no one has ever seen. We can go there." Everyone accepted and set off. The horses swiftly rode towards the mountain, and they climbed the mountain. An hour later they arrived at the cave. The mouth of the cave was narrow, but when they went into the cave, they reached a wide and spacious area. They each sat in a corner, and the dog was sitting near the mouth of the cave. They tried to lie down and fell asleep. Outside the cave, Dacian's soldiers had found the mountain. "I heard there was a cave on top of this mountain, but I'm sure they can't climb it with horses. But we should search around. They will be hiding here somewhere," the commander said. Soldiers searched around, but they found nothing and returned to the palace. It had been years since the departure of Maximilian and his companions. No one saw them, and there was no news of them. Their family and acquaintances traveled and searched everywhere, but found no trace of them. During this time, the country changed a lot. Dacian and the other oppressive rulers died. 309 years had passed since they went to the cave, but no one knew Maximilian and his friends were still sleeping in the cave. Yes, they were sleeping with their dogs' eyes wide open at the entrance of the cave. Predatory animals and vermin came to them many times, but when they saw their eyes open, they turned away and did not return. One day, some bandits came to hide the property they had stolen. The boss sent 2 men over the mountain to see if the cave was safe. Soon the 2 men came down the mountain quickly, both scared and breathing. "What is it? Have you seen a ghost?" One of the thieves stuttered. "Curse! This cave is cursed, sir. 7 people were there with a dog." The chief said, "Well, we will kill them all." "They were dead, but their eyes were open. We thought they might have died with their eyes open, but when we stepped into the cave, all 7 turned their eyes to us," said one thief. "Sir, a strange sound crept into the cave, and then the cave suddenly froze, and we were about to freeze," said the thief. "Our legs were frozen, and the clothes and swords were very old, maybe 200 or 300 years old. God damn this cave! We are not ready to go even closer to this cave again." "No, we're going inside," the chief said. When he got off his horse, his men escaped quickly. The chief, who was left alone, got on his horse and left with them. Years passed until one early morning, Maximilian pressed his eyelids together and opened them. He looked around in amazement and saw that his friends were still asleep. He woke them up. One of them said, "My body is very stiff. I can't move." "Look at how long our beards and hair have grown," Maximilian said, looking at the others with surprise. Another said, "Look at how old our clothes are." One of them said, "I am very hungry." The shepherd said, I have some bread and cheese, but the bowl was rotting and there was no bread and cheese in it. The shepherd said with frightened eyes, maybe we've been here for years. Anyway, we need to eat some food so we can think about what to do, Maximilian said. The youngest of them said, I'm going to town. With this look, my mother won't recognize me, let alone the gods. Then he took out a silver coin and said, I'll be back soon. When the young man entered the city, it was noon. Most of the shops were closed and people had gone to their homes to rest. The young man watched in amazement. The shape of houses, passageways, and temples had all changed. The young man said to himself, Where's my house? And the palace of Dacian has transformed into ruins. And as he went closer, he saw that a magnificent palace was set up on a hill where people once buried their garbage. A while later, the shops slowly started opening up and traffic was increasing in the city. Clothes and even people's hairstyles had all changed. People gathered around him and watched him. When the young man said, where can I buy some bread and cheese? Several people led him to the front of a shop. The seller gave him some loaves of bread, some cheese, and some dates. The young man gave the seller a silver coin. The salesman turned the coin around his palm and said, My God, this coin belongs to an ancient time. Where did he get this from? This is 300 years old. Everyone looked at the young man with surprise, and the young man was shocked as well. Another man realized who he was. Don't be afraid, no one is going to hurt you. The story of you and your friends is recorded in our history books and has been passed down from generation to generation. My God, I can't believe I've seen one of the companions of Asabe-Gehev. The salesman, while crying, said, Our ruler is a righteous and faithful man. If he sees you, he will respect you. I will go to the palace and tell him. The shopkeeper gave the young man food and closed his shop and ran to the palace to tell the king this news. Several people went with him. The young man returned to the cave with bread, cheese, and dates. When he arrived, he told the whole story to his friends. There was silence between them for a while. Then they looked at each other. Finally, Maximilian said, Listen, my brothers, after 309 years, we are no longer familiar with the city. Our relatives, far and near, are all dead. We came out of that city believing in God and protesting the cruelty of the king. If we go back to the city, we might be guilty of sin. Now it's up to us to go back to the city or ask God to take us out of this world. They looked at each other again and said, We choose death. And they slept. The shepherd gave the dog some bread and also fell asleep. The dog went to sleep in front of the cave shortly afterwards. A few days later, the salesman, along with some of the townspeople, was able to find the cave. Upon hearing this, the ruler and his soldiers arrived, but when they entered the cave, they were surprised to find that the Asabe-Gehev were all dead. The ruler and the rest returned to the city. The news soon broke out in the city. The ruler ordered to cover the cave and build a monument beside the cave. Then he told the citizens not to talk about the companions because God is more aware of their situation.